Alrighty, so let us get straight into the review of looking at these 11 games that happened yesterday in MLS, and I want to try to do this as quick as possible because I got an evening shift that is starting in about an hour and a half now, and it's a good thing that I have an evening shift today and not yesterday, because imagine if I had an evening shift yesterday and I basically would miss all 11 games that happened, and I have to watch the condensed highlights of all 11 games. I mean, that would be a bit of a pain. But that being said, I did had to watch the condensed version for most of these games. So once again, if there is not a lot of detail in some of these games, well, that's mainly because I didn't watch the game and I only watched the condensed highlights of it. But let us begin with the first game, which is between Atlanta versus TFC, and Atlanta's second half resurgence is definitely on. I mean, this is now 3 straight wins that Atlanta United has had, and they're not that far from getting themselves back above the red line after getting a 1-0 win against TFC. And early on, Barcos did drive one that missed high before Bono had to deny Araujo, and I believe that that's how you pronounce his name and not Araujo as the Spanish pronunciation. He's actually Brazilian, so I guess that's how you pronounce it in Portuguese instead of how you're pronouncing it in Spanish. But I'm just gonna say Araujo. He was denied there from Bono before Marcelo Moreno puts one wide from long range, and I thought Atlanta definitely looked like they were the better team and was pushing early for the opener. Joseph Martinez almost had that chance, but he missed wide as he was kind of a little bit off balance. But eventually, Atlanta did get that opening goal after all the pressure that they put against the visitor, as Barco scored from Lennon to give Atlanta United a 1-0 lead. But then 5 minutes later, TFC were looking to quickly respond, as Guzan was able to deny Aro of a rare TFC chance here in the first 25 minutes. I mean, it was all Atlanta in the first 25 minutes of this game. Marcelo Moreno then puts it high from close range before Joseph Martinez tried to do a spectacular scorpion kick goal. I mean, if that win, that is just guaranteed to be the goal of the week for this week. But unfortunately, that one goes wide as Atlanta does head to halftime with a 1-0 lead. Now, in the second half, they continue to try to push for a second goal. Martinez then puts it high from 24 yards down in the 55th minute before Patrick Mullins almost hits it away for TFC and almost kind of score against the run of plays. And, this is when I kind of wrote, despite the fact that Atlanta was kind of dominating this game, they got to be careful not to get sucker punch and get score on against the run of play. But little did I know, that actually kicked off in terms of TFC started to kind of come back into this game. Pozuelo just missed wide of a curler in the 59th minute before Mullins had another chance, but he fires it wide. And then Guzan absolutely robbed Pozuelo a chance for TFC to equalize in the 70th minute. And like I said, TFC, they were all of a sudden pressing for the equalizer, and this also kind of was very similar to the last game where, inexplicably, Atlanta just decided to sit back in the second half. And, I mean, with the way that they kind of dominate in the first half, and at least the first 55 minutes, it was kind of strange, the fact that they just sit back and try to hold on to this 1-0 lead. But they did have a chance to make it 2-0 as Moreno had a big opportunity to kill the game off, but he missed wide from close range before the big moment came in the 93rd minute for TFC to equalize, but Larrea wasn't able to capitalize on that big moment as he puts it high from close range. And in the end, despite the fact that TFC did put a lot of pressure on Atlanta in the last 30 minutes, Atlanta hold on to win 1-0 in this game. And the shots of this one, 21 shots compared to the 14 that TFC had, 4 shots on goal compared to the 3 that TFC had, 10 shots off target compared to the 5 that TFC had, 7 shots that was blocked compared to the 6 that TFC has, and possession-wise, 57% possession compared to the 43% possession that TFC has in this game. And although it was, once again, not a pretty game for Atlanta, they wouldn't care because, as I said, it's 3 straight victory, and when you go on this kind of run, it's unsurprising that they are definitely starting to get themselves back into playoff conversation in the Eastern Conference, and I won't be surprised. They could be above the red line if they keep winning games and go on this winning streak that they're on. But as for TFC, yeah, this is going to hurt because they really had a chance to maybe get a point or even get all 3 points with the way that they play in the last 30 minutes. But in some way, it was just kind of a little bit too late where they really didn't get into this game until late in this one. And by then, they were already chasing the game. And when you chase the game and you are not able to show your clinical finishing, that's what happens, and that's why they weren't able to get all 3 points in this one. But now moving on, in terms of the next match, is New England and DC United, and I'll tell you what, the Revs, I mean, this is incredible. Like, this team just looked like unstoppable right now, and that if the playoffs actually started today, they're the favorites of winning MLS Cup. And in some way, I could also say that it's almost like for New England, it's getting close to, it's their MLS Cup to lose, or at least I would say maybe it's their Supporter Shield to lose, because when you look at the gap that they build up, not only in the Eastern Conference, where they are just running away with the Eastern Conference and now having like a 14-point lead, and I mean, unless, as I said before, unless if they just had an incredible collapse in the second half of the season, they're going to win the East this year. And they're also running away with the Supporter Shield standings too, because, you know, after SKC, the closest team that was chasing for their Supporter Shield, dropped points, they now have a 7-point gap over the second place team, which is a new second. Well, it's not a new second place team, but the team that leapfrogged them in second place in the Supporter Shield standing, that is the Seattle Sounders. And, you know, what's incredible about New England winning this game is that they went down to 10 men for the last 14 minutes, or the last 17 minutes of this game, and they still were able to get all 3 points out of this one. And what's also impressive is that I didn't think they played well early in this game. I mean, DC were actually the better team early in this one. Griffin Yao tried to drive one that goes high in the 4th minute before De La Garza puts it high from long range. And after all the good pressure that DC kind of put on New England in the first 10 minutes, they were rewarded of a goal, as Ariola would score from Edison Forrest to give DC United a 1-0 lead. And it would have been 2-0 if Turner didn't make a great save to deny Felipe. And DC, again, off to a great start into this game. Flores then puts it wide from close range before DeJuan Jones finally had the first real opportunity for New England, as his shot goes straight to Keppen. And, you know, despite the fact that DC were up 1-0 and they were the better team, I think maybe in some mind that they feel like, yeah, they probably should get the second goal as soon as possible, because you know New England, when they do woke up, they're going to be very dangerous. And in the 31st minute, Tristanson, I thought he should have tied the game up, as he missed a free header from 10 yards out. Again, New England was starting to get into this game, but we do head to halftime with DC leading 1-0 against the Revs. But that lead would not last long heading into the second half, because 4 minutes in, Tommy McNamara would score from Tristanson and De La Garza to tie the game up at 1 apiece. DC almost immediately took the lead back, but Turner was able to deny Jordi Reyna, who took a wicked deflection. I mean, Matt Turner, another great game for him, and this is really the reason why not only he is going to be in contention and probably is going to win Goalkeeper of the Year this season, but he is definitely making his case that he is going to be the starting goalkeeper for the U.S. men's national team heading into that World Cup qualifier in September. Now, just 2 minutes after that big save, New England takes the lead, and it's Tajon Buchanan that scored from Boateng to make this a 2-1 game. And Buchanan, another guy that I think heading into this winter transfer window, I won't be surprised he's going to be sold off to a European team for a big money move, because he is another guy that has been just a rising star in this league, and a guy that I won't be surprised not long after a lot of European team is going to start calling New England and trying to get Tajon Buchanan off their hands. Now, in the 67th minute, McNamara tried to score another stunning goal for New England. And by the way, that goal that Tajon Buchanan scored, I mean, he basically hits that off the volley. I mean, he just makes it look so easy with the way that he hits it off the volley. But they almost scored another stunner, and again, McNamara tried to score another stunner for New England, but he missed that one wide in the 67th minute, before Brion actually cleared Buxaw headers off the line. Second week in a row that Brion cleared a shot off the line, although unlike last week against Nashville, he didn't have to do it twice in the same sequence. But then in the 70th minute, Turner was able to deny Jordi Reyna, and, you know, I thought this game kind of started to become end-to-end. And then in the 73rd minute, a red card was issued to New England after Tristanson get his second yellow card. And this is kind of also where I thought maybe the game was going to change, because with the way that this game was end-to-end, which clearly favors DC, and knowing the fact that DC were going to be up a man in the last 17 minutes, you would think that they would eventually get the equalizer, right? Well, no, because in the 77th minute, actually the crowd actually celebrated, thinking that the refs won a penalty, but indeed it was actually a foul that happens outside the box. And I think, oh god, I forgot who exactly it is, but one of the refs player basically gone down on the ground. He actually got his momentum, kind of took him into the penalty box, and the crowd thought that clearly should have been a penalty, and it was a foul, but unfortunately it was just one of those sequences where the foul happened outside the box, and the momentum of the player that got fouled was just kind of pushed into the box to make it look like it's a penalty, but it's not, or make it look like it was a foul inside the box and a penalty, but indeed that was not the case. But then in the 85th minute, that crowd at Gillette Stadium definitely had something to cheer about, because their team would go up 3-1 as DeJuan Jones was able to put away to really kind of kill this game off for New England. And again, this is the second week in a row where I thought John Kempin did not do a good job in terms of between the stick, and it's another one that I feel like he clearly should have saved. Like, this one was hit right toward him. It wasn't hit with a lot of power, and it just kind of went under his legs and goes into the back of the net. And for DC, this has got to be something that they need to figure it out. Like, this, I know Bill Hamid being on the IR list definitely hurts this team, and the fact that there's no doubt that if he was in net, there was no way in the world he's going to let that one go in from DeJuan Jones shots. But it's just the fact that I feel like this season, the reason why DC hasn't really got to the point where they could be a playoff contender, or they've been dropping a lot. Well, they are kind of a playoff contender, but they're dropping a lot of points in some of these games that you think that they could have got a result despite how good they're playing, is because of the goalkeeping situation. And really, if Bill Hamid went down, this team is very vulnerable at the back. And again, we saw it last week against Nashville, where Kippen conceded 2 very soft goals, and here he conceded another soft goal that I feel like he clearly should have saved it. And that turns out to be big, because in the 6th minute of stoppage time, DC did get a consolation goal as Roman Abila scored his first goal for DC United, as he scored from Kamara to make it 3-2. And even though at that point it was more of a consolation goal, this also kind of just emphasized how much of that save that Keppen should have gone in the 85th minute really hurts this team. Because if Keppen actually saved that one, this would have been a tight game, and DC would have walked away with a point out of Gillette Stadium. But instead, they didn't walk away with a point. They walked away with 0 in this one, as New England were able to hold on to win 3-2 against DC United. Shots in this one, 22 shots compared to 15 that New England has. 7 shots on goal compared to 9 that DC had. 10 shots off target compared to 5 that New England has. Both teams had 3 shots that was blocked, and possession-wise, 54% possession compared to 46% possession that DC United has in this game. And like I said, for New England, this is really their support ratio to lose, with the way that they have just been on a red-hot form in these last couple of games. But now moving on, in terms of the next match, it is going to be Cincinnati and Montreal. And for Cincinnati, it's another frustrating resort in a game where you feel like they should have won. And the way that they definitely had a lot of opportunity in this game to get that goal to win this game against Montreal. And not to mention, just like DC, they were also were able to be up a man in the last 16 minutes of the game. They just could not get it done, and you also feel like this is now once again 2-point drop for Cincinnati at home. But at least early on, they were definitely on the front foot, and that Briza did had to deny Matarrita on the free kick before he had to deny Medunian from a long-range effort in the 18th minute. And definitely Cincy was looking good and was trying to push for a go-ahead goal early on. But fast forward into the 38th minute, they almost went down 1-0 when Broguiad with Montreal's first real chance from close range, but he missed that one high, and we had to halftime 0-0 between both of these teams. Now in the second half, Cruz struck the post from 18 yards out before Barrio go for a long-range effort that goes high. And then in the 74th minute, this is when the red card happened, as Camacho would get his second yellow card of the game, as Montreal was down to 10 men. And you're thinking, maybe this is finally the moment for Cincinnati to get the go-ahead goal, right? Well, Barrio did have a free kick effort there to give Cincinnati the opening goal, but his free kick effort was struck the wall, but it actually kind of fell kindly back toward him, and he tried to hit it on the second attempt, but this one goes wide from about 20 yards out. Before Acosta tried to do a little bit of a cheeky chip from long range effort, tried to catch Breeza off his lines, but that one just goes a little bit high. Before Vasquez had a header from a long range effort or actually not a header, but more like a shot from a long range effort that puts wide. And again, Cincinnati was pushing for the winner, but they just could not able to get it because they were not being clinical in this game, as it's been kind of the case for them in most of the game this season. As in the end, it ends in a 0-0 draw between both of these teams, and I believe this is the only 0-0 draw that happened from this match week. As the shots in this game, 17 shots compared to 8 that Montreal has, 3 shots on goal compared to none that Montreal has, 4 shots off target compared to 5 that Montreal has, 5 shots that was blocked compared to 3 that Montreal has, and possession-wise, 46% possession compared to 54% possession that Montreal has in this game. And besides the bad finishing for Cincinnati in this game, I kind of feel like they're having the same issue as last season. Where remember how last season, when they started to not concede goal, they also can't score goals. But when they start to concede goals, they also at times are not only not able to score a goal, but at times they could also score some goals. And it just feels like there's just no balance in this team. And that's what kind of frustrates you if you're a Cincinnati fan, where, if you feel like the defense is doing well, then you realize that, yeah, the offense is basically doing nothing. And then the opposite could happen, where the defense looking absolutely shambolic, but somehow the attack look like they are lively, and that, unless if there is a balance, that is fine. And this is kind of something that Yapstom's got to figure it out, because I feel like he's definitely under the hot seat a little bit. I have definitely heard a lot of Cincinnati fans have kind of started to go Yapstom out with the way that the resort has goals, but he's got to find the balance of this team, because it's got to be frustrating if you're a Cincinnati fans, knowing the fact that when your team don't score, and it also means they don't concede, but then the opposite, of course, could also come true. And also they're still gonna have to search on for their first win of the season at their brand new stadium. And what is the odds of the fact that when the World Cup qualifying game between US versus Mexico is going to be happening in September, what's the odds that is actually the first team to get a win, or at least the first home team to get a win at TQL Stadium? And if that's the case, that's kind of embarrassing if you're FC Cincinnati, because TQL Stadium, this stadium opened back in May, and we're now 3 months into the new stadium being open, and they still have not won a single game at that new stadium. But now moving on to the next match, and for a team that for the beginning of this season has been struggling at home and took a while before they finally got their first home win a couple of weeks ago, Miami have now got back-to-back home wins. And just like the last one, they did it in dramatic fashion by scoring a late winner to get all 3 points against the Chicago Fire. Now, early on, the Fire actually were kind of the better team, as Stojanovic puts a shot that goes straight to Marsman before Baric actually went through on goal, but he only confines the side netting. Miami, I thought, did sort of get back into this game and kind of created some half chances, but most of them was kind of blocked from Chicago. But eventually, they would get the opening goal of the game, as in the 33rd minute, Vasilev would score to give Miami a 1-0 lead in this game. But unfortunately, that lead would not last long, because 7 minutes later, Calvo would score for Stojanovic for the Fire to tie the game up at 1 apiece, and that was not great defending from Inter Miami in terms of the corner, like just leaving Calvo kind of wide open there in the box from a corner is never going to lead to any good things. And yeah, just like that, the game of course was all tied up at 1 apiece, and that's how we would heading into the second half. Although heading into the second half, we wouldn't be tied 1-1 very long, because the Fire would actually take the lead, and it's Stojanovic who has just been red hot for the Fire. And ever since he's coming back from the IL, he has definitely ignited this Fire attack, as he would score from Ivanov and Herberts to give Chicago a 2-1 lead. Gonzalo Higuain did try to give Miami the equalizer not long after, but he fired one wide of what kind of looked like it was a training ground routine of a free kick, where they kind of play it into the middle, and then Higuain basically fired it from long range, and it kind of came almost worked out for Inter Miami, but ultimately they did get the equalizer in the 61st minute, and it's Robbie Robinson that scored from Higuain and LGP, and that's, I think, Federico Higuain, the one that got the assist, not his brother Gonzalo. But nevertheless, the game is tied up at 2 apiece before Gonzalo would fire it wide after Brett Shea did kind of try to poke it in. It was initially kind of cleared away from the fire, but kind of went straight back to Higuain, who tried to fire it on the follow-up, but unfortunately he puts that one wide. But I thought Miami definitely had the momentum ever since they tied the game up at 2 apiece. Though in the 74th minute, they were very fortunate to not go down 10 men after Robinson looked like he might have got himself a straight red card after he just inexplicably decided to slap to the ground off an off-ball situation, and when they go to VAR, they deemed that Robinson did slap Thuram, but he actually slapped Thuram in the chest, which, you know, by rule, that is only going to be worthy of a yellow card, and in some ways, very fortunate that he only slapped Thuram in the chest, because anything above that body height, if you slap him in the neck or even in the face, that is going to be a straight red card. So Robbie Robinson, very fortunate to be still on the pitch in Miami. Very fortunate to not go down 10 men for the last 16 minutes of the game. But in the 87th minute, Higuain did puts it high from close range before in the 3rd minute of stoppage time, like I mentioned earlier. Miami for the second home game in a row, able to score a late dramatic winner. And this time, it's Rodolfo Pizarro, who has been really in the doghouse of Phil Neville throughout the season. He came off the bench, and he made an impact as he scored his first goal of the season from Uriola and Higuain to give Miami not only the go-ahead goal, but also the winning goal in this one. As in the end, Miami was able to win 3-2 against Chicago, and the shots in this one, 12 shots compared to 8 that Chicago has, 4 shots on goal compared to 3 that the Fire has, 5 shots off target compared to 3 that the Fire has, 5 shots on block compared to 2 that the Fire has, and possession-wise, 54% possession compared to 46% possession that the Chicago Fire has in this game. And despite the fact that Miami is still kind of away from catching Montreal for the last team to be in the playoffs, I think they're still like 7 points away from catching Montreal in terms of that playoff spot. They also have 2 games in hand over teams that is above them, and if they can win those 2 games in hand over those team above them, they are right back into the playoff conversation. And this is also the reason why it's just so important for them to get all 3 points, continue the recent good run and good fortune that this team has started to turn their season around the last couple of games. But that being said, if you're the Chicago Fire, this is kind of the last way you want to start a 5-game road trip, losing literally in the dying minutes of the game, and now they're going to have to hope to brush that away and maybe try to bounce back heading into their next road game and trying to see if they can get a win to get themselves stay into this playoff contention in the East. But now moving on, in terms of the next match, is going to be the Union versus NYCFC. So this was a very ugly game for the Philadelphia Union, but in the end, they still were able to get 3 points over NYCFC, and in some way, NYCFC will be frustrated that they did not get a win in this one because, you know, I thought they also didn't kind of play well, and this was one of those ugly games where it just feels like nobody wants to win. But in the end, I thought NYCFC kind of had more of the opportunity, but the Union was just able to capitalize on their rare opportunity to get a 1-0 win in this one. Now, early in this game, NYCFC almost got the opening goal if it wasn't for the post denying Medina shots in the 7th minute, before Rodriguez puts it straight to Andre Blake in the 14th minute. And NYCFC, as I said, they started the better side early in this game. Rodriguez then tried to bend one in, but this one missed wide before Santos really had the first real chance for the Union, but he hits that one straight to Sean Johnson. And really for the rest of the game, you know, for the rest of the first half, nothing really happened between both of these teams. And as I mentioned, it was a relatively slow game with how this one went on. But heading into the second half with the score tie at 0-0, Amundsen did drive one through the traffic and was hoping maybe it can take off a deflection off of one of the Union player, but it never did and actually missed wide. Before the Union capitalized on one of the rare opportunity as Bedoya was able to score from Wagner to give the Union a 1-0 lead. Beautiful delivery there from Kai Wagner, and Bedoya just found enough space to hit that one in and kind of catch the NYCFC backline sleeping there to give the Union a 1-0 lead. But that lead almost looked like was gone in 2 minutes after Thiago looked for an instant response, but he put his shot straight to Andre Blake before Thiago had another opportunity, this time from close range, but he missed the target this time. And NYCFC was definitely pushing for a late equalizer, but that being said, Santos did have a chance to get the crucial second goal to kill the game off for the Union, but he puts it high from close range before Tinnerholm had a chance to hit one off the volley, but it goes wide in the 88th minute. And for the last couple of minutes, NYCFC did try their best to maybe search for the late equalizer, but ultimately it was kind of comfortable for the Union because NYCFC didn't really create some dangerous chances that really tested Andre Blake. And in the end, despite having played a very good game, the Union still able to get all 3 points in this one. As the shots in this one, 7 shots compared to 15 that NYCFC had. Both teams had 2 shots on goal, 4 shots off target compared to 7 that NYCFC had. 1 shot that was blocked compared to 6 that NYCFC had. And possession-wise, 60% possession compared to 40% possession that the Union has in this game. And kind of a game as ugly this one. Usually the winning team just were able to have that one match moment to get that winning goal, and that's what the Union was in this one. They just had that one match goal moment, and they get all 3 points to keep themselves in contention for that second place position. But as for NYCFC, I'm not sure if they still hold on to that second place position. If not, they probably drop down to third place. But yeah, this is definitely going to be a loss that's going to stay for them. Consider, as I said, they need to keep winning if they want to keep that second position. Consider there's a lot of teams behind them that's coming for that position. But now moving on into the last match on this board is going to be the Red Bulls versus Columbus, and in a game between two teams that has been on a long winless run. And I also said in the preview, something's going to have to give if someone's going to end their 5-game winless run. It's the Red Bulls, the one that was able to end their 5-game winless run as they win 1-0 against the Columbus Crew. And in many ways, they got to thank Carlos Cornell in this one, because he was really the reason why the Red Bulls were able to hold on to winning 1-0. And this was probably by far the best game I think Carlos Cornell has played this season for the Red Bulls. Because in the second minute, he absolutely robbed Molino, who tried to tap it in from close range in the second minute. Before the Red Bulls looked like they got themselves a penalty, but unfortunately they go to VAR to see whether or not if that indeed was a penalty, and in the end it wasn't, because it was deemed that Frazier did get enough off the ball on the challenge on Kamala. Although there is kind of an argument saying that yes, he did kind of get the ball, but that was a very high boot from Liam Frazier. And anytime when you put that high of a boot, even if you get the ball, that is considered a very reckless kind of challenge. And I was kind of surprised maybe they might consider that as the reason why the penalty should have stayed. But I guess maybe they feel like he just got enough the ball, even though that high boot kind of connected off of Kamala. They still feel like it's not enough to pretty much stands the call, and in the end they kind of overturned it, and it was no penalty given to the Red Bulls. But in the 21st minute, Room would rob Fabio on a free header that he had from close range, and the Red Bulls, they were definitely started controlling the game and looking for the opening goal, and they would get the opening goal in the 33rd minute as John Tokens scored his first career MLS goal from Fabio and Guzman. So certainly a great moment for the homegrown youngster, getting his first ever MLS goal and giving the Red Bulls a 1-0 lead, and what turns out to be the winning goal of this game. But then 8 minutes later, Cornell, as I said, he had an incredible game in this one. He somehow robbed Zardes here. And anytime when Zardes go one-on-one with the goalkeeper, you would definitely bet on the fact that Zardes would put that one away. But in this instance, you would have lost the bet, because he would make an absolute great save to deny Zardes there, and one of the rare few opportunities that Zardes wasn't able to put away as he was one-on-one with the goalkeeper. But then in the second minute of stoppage time, Kamala had a chance to double the lead for the Red Bulls before halftime, but he puts a shot wide, and we head to halftime with the Red Bulls leading 1-0 against Columbus. Now in the second half, Cornell once again robbing Molino from close range before Tarek did heads it high in the back post in the 51st minute. Fabio then tried to flick it in, but it goes wide, and the Red Bulls, they were definitely started to pushing to try to get that second goal. But then in the 75th minute, Cornell, again, having an incredible game in this one. He would make one last big save, robbing former Red Bulls player, and really Red Bulls legend Bradley Wright Phillips from point-blank range. And in the last 15 minutes, I was expecting maybe Columbus was going to really push to try to get the equalizer, but they just never did. I mean, the last 15 minutes, it was relatively comfortable for the Red Bulls to hold on to this 1-0 lead, and that's exactly the case, as in the end, they would get a huge 1-0 lead over Columbus, as the shots in this one, 16 shots compared to 9 that Columbus had, 5 shots on goal for the 3 that Columbus had, 9 shots off target for the 2 that Columbus had, 2 shots that was blocked for the 4 that Columbus had, and possession-wise, 45% possession compared to 55% possession that the Columbus crew has in this game. And for Columbus, this is really starting to get away from them, and that the longer this rough patch continues, the more concern that they're going to have. And consider this was supposed to be a team that we thought was going to win the Supporters Shield standings. They don't make the playoffs this season. This would have been considered one of the most disappointing and one of the most underachieving kind of season we've seen a team go through. And yes, I know they've been dealing with a lot of injuries, but so is other teams, and yet other teams are still able to find a way to get all 3 points at the end of the day. And yeah, for Columbus, they got to figure this out, because it would be pretty embarrassing with the way that they had just so much talent heading into this season, and yet heading into this season after the MLS Cup, it seems like they have indeed suffered an MLS Cup hangover and probably could potentially miss the playoffs in the East. But that being said, I am now going to switch boards and look at the last 5 games that happened in terms of the busy Wednesday action around MLS. But yeah, moving on, in terms of the next match is the Sounders. So, for the Seattle Sounders coming into this game, it seemed like Brian Schmetzer, after seeing his first team able to get all 3 points, not only against their most hated rival, the Portland Timbers, but fall in a historic Cascadia Cup win by winning 6-2. He kind of decided to reward his first team a game off, and in some way the Sounders were kind of just punting this game away. And yet, for the second time this season, when it was pretty clear that the Sounders were punting this game away, they still were able to get all 3 points in this game. And if you're Dallas, they have to be very frustrated that coming out of this game, because for a majority of this one, they were by far the better team, and this was just one of those games where, I'm going to have to throw the old cliche again. One team was able to take advantage of some of their rare opportunity and gets the crucial goal to win the game, and the other team, despite having a lot of chances, weren't able to put away that goal and find themselves on the score sheet and came out on the losing end after the end of 90 minutes. But early on in the 4th minute, Rodon did had a rare chance for the Sounder as he teed one up, but unfortunately he missed wide in the 4th minute before Ricardo Pepi's shot was actually deflected wide after just a rare WTF turnover from the Sounders back line. And little did we know that rare WTF turnover and that rare giveaway that the Sounders back line has had was kind of a common theme here in the first half. Acosta then glassed a 30-yard free kick wide, as you mentioned, a lot of uncharacteristic turnover from the Sounders back line. And I know, again, this was not really the main team from the Sounders, and they pretty much changed their back line coming into this game, but still, it was very uncharacteristic to see the Sounders turning the ball in their own half, consider they have been so solid so far this season at home. Richie then had to deny Fiera from long range in the 20th minute before Madron then trying to go for long range and almost equal to the incredible goal that he scored on Sunday, which actually, that I don't think anything came close in terms of that incredible goals that he scored. No matter, I feel like if he does maybe score another incredible goal, and maybe kind of a long chip goal, or even kind of like a scorpion kick goal, or even a bicycle kick goal. I don't think it's anything that is going to equal in terms of the incredible goal that he scored in that Cascadia derby. But he did kind of try to score a long-range effort here, but he puts it wide. Before Rowe actually had a free header, but missed wide in the 43rd minute as we head to halftime, 0-0 between both of these teams. Now in the second half, this is when Dallas really started to push to try to get the opening goal, as Richie was able to deny Ricardo Pepi, and Pepi did get a second crack at it, and you would definitely fancy the fact that in his second attempt he would actually put that one on target, but he didn't. And Ricardo Pepi, as hot as he was, coming into this game, he definitely missed some opportunity that could have given Dallas a crucial 1-0 lead. But there's no doubt that Dallas was started the second half as the better team, and this is also kind of at the point where maybe Brian Schmertz has decided, yeah, let's not maybe punt this game away and actually start to bring some of my attacking player to change this game up. So that's what he did in the 63rd minute as the Sounders started putting on the cavalry as Ruidíaz and Ladero was summoned off the bench, and little do we know that not only that tactics actually worked out, but it instantly made a huge impact in this game, as Ruidíaz would actually score in the 63rd minute, and you talk about another incredible goal that the Sounders have scored. Like, this one actually was hit off the post not only once, but twice in that one. I mean, almost kind of like a double post moment, and just like their hated Cascadia derby rival that kind of got benefit with the double post 5 years ago, or actually it's 7 years ago because that happened in 2015. The Sounders were able to benefit with the double post in this one as it bounced both posts and somehow still went in to give the Sounders a crucial 1-0 lead. And really, as the time kind of winds down, the Sounders were looking to just kind of bunker in and drop their lines and try to hold on to this 1-0 lead. And Dallas continued to try to press to get the equalizer. They had a chance in the 84th minute, but Hara puts it wide from close range, and in the end, they weren't able to fight that, as that was really their final real chance that they had in this game. And in the end, the Sounders, again, a game that they kind of had no business in terms of winning with. They kind of purposely trying to punt this game away, still able to get all 3 points to win 1-0 in this one. As the shots in this one, 18 shots compared to the 9 that the Sounders had, 2 shots on goal compared to the 1 that the Sounders had, 10 shots off target compared to the 7 that the Sounders had, 6 shots that was blocked compared to the 1 that the Sounders had, and possession-wise, 65% possession compared to 35% possession that the Sounders has in this game. And also, with this win, the Sounders are now back up at the top of the Western Conference, because moving on in terms of the next match is Sporting KC versus the Portland Timbers. And for Sporting KC, because they weren't able to get a victory and drop 2 points at home, that's why the Sounders were able to overtake them, because there was only like a 1 point gap between both of these teams. But in many ways, SKC is maybe a little bit fortunate that they were able to get a point out of this game, because, man, for the Portland Timbers, they came so close in terms of getting that bounce back win that they desperately needed after that embarrassment that happened on Sunday against the Sounders in the Cascadia Cup. But unfortunately, old habits start to return to this team, and that this team just, unfortunately, once again, weren't able to close out game to get themselves all 3 points, and once again concede a late goal to draw this 1-1-1. Now, in the first 15 minutes, really not much has happened. Like, you would have literally missed the first 15 minutes of this game, and you wouldn't miss anything, because there was both of these teams weren't really doing much in the first 15 minutes. And really, the first shot of this game actually ended up in the back of the net, as the Timbers were the one that got the first shot of this game, and it's Mora that was able to score from Larea. I actually spell Mora name wrong. It's not Maria. It's Mora. And I almost used my Sharpies again to write it on the board, which that would be a big no-no. But yeah, Mora would heads that one in from Larea to give the Timbers a 1-0 lead. And in some way, it shouldn't be a big surprise, because Felipe Mora has been red hot for the Timbers in the last couple of games. And this was just kind of almost a classic goal that he scored a lot this season on the header to give the Timbers a 1-0 lead. But then 7 minutes later, SKC looked to try to respond, as Clark was able to deny Shawi, as that was actually the first shot on goal for SKC. And I also thought that SKC was having a lot of issue with the Timbers low block, and I feel like the Timbers in this game, they were kind of going back to their bread and butter, trying to sit deep and trying to go on the counter attack. And although most of the time it didn't quite work out, they were really causing a lot of havoc on this SKC team that just cannot break down their low block. Although they did have a chance right on the stroke of halftime as Fontes drives one wide from long range, and we head to halftime with the Timbers leading 1-0. Now, in the second half, Clark denied Kinda, and on the follow-up, Kinda actually hits a weak shot that goes straight to Clark, and again, SKC having a lot of possession, but they're still having trouble to try to break down this Timbers bunker. And in the one rare time that the Timbers was able to be successful on the counterattack, Valeri had a big opportunity to put this game away. And I feel like, we know that Diego Valeri has always considered to be an ageless kind of wonder, but I feel like this season that father time has started to catch up to him, because this season he has definitely started to show some of his age, and he has not been as effective as we have seen him over the years for the Portland Timbers. And I think if this was a couple of years ago, Valeri would have buried this one, but he puts it wide as he went for one goal, and Timbers had a big opportunity to kill this game off. And really, as the time winds down, Portland, they were already kind of bunker for majority of this game. Well, they decided to go full park the bus mode for the last 10 minutes of the game. They were putting 10 men behind the box there and try to make a living hell for SKC to break them down. But ultimately, SKC eventually figured out the Timbers park the bus mode defense. As in the first minute of stoppage time, who else but Daniel Showery, who, I think not only he has been having a career, but you could even make an argument that he could be an MVP contender. I mean, I know there's going to be some that say, well, it's probably going to be Carlos Hill or Chicharito that's going to win the MVP award, but if Showery continues to score goals like that and maybe wins the Golden Boot, like I even said, if you win the Golden Boot, you are definitely going to be considered an MVP contender, and he is definitely keeping pace, at least with Rui Diaz, in terms of the player that's leading the Golden Boot race. And here he scored another huge goal to tie the game up at 1 apiece. And SKC, believe it or not, actually had a big opportunity to get a late dramatic winner, and probably should have done, as Fontes missed an absolute sitter from 3 yards out. And you can tell how bad of a miss he is, because immediately when he hits that one in, he basically just completely fell on the ground in disbelief, and he's definitely going to have nightmares about that miss for a couple of days, because that was the chance for SKC to get that crucial second goal to win this game. But in the end, it ends in a 1-1 draw, as the shots in this one, 13 shots compared to 8 that the Timbers had, 4 shots on goal compared to 1 that the Timbers had, 6 shots off target compared to 3 that the Timbers had, 3 shots that was blocked compared to 4 that the Timbers had, and possession-wise, 70% possession compared to 30% possession that the Timbers has in this game. And I know, as much as I know Timbers fans are going to be frustrated with this result, because they were just so close of getting that much needed 3 points in this one, they're still going to be coming out happy out of this one, because again, SKC were just by far the better team in this one, and they were just putting a lot of pressure on the Timbers. And it didn't take until the 91st minute until it finally that pressure kind of cracks the Timbers. But even then, if SKC would have put away that winner in the 97th minute, this could have been even a worse loss that the Timbers would have suffered. And how painful it has to be, the fact that just a couple of days ago you got blown out by your biggest rival, and now just 3 days later you literally lost a game and give up two stoppage time goal in this one. That would really kill the Timbers' momentum. But moving on, in terms of the next match, is going to be Nashville versus Orlando City. And notice I actually use a lot of the board for this game, because when that happened, it was a incredible game, and in many ways I really hope this might be a matchup in the playoffs, because this definitely looked like it was a playoff kind of game where both teams, especially in the second half, was just going for it to try to get all 3 points in this game. Now, in the first half, I actually think Nashville were the better team throughout, as they actually had an early opportunity in the 3rd minute, but Sturha was able to deny Mukhtar from long range before Leal did drive one that goes wide in the 6th minute. And Nashville off to a great start in this game, but they actually almost conceded the opening goal in the 11th minute, as Willis was able to deny Vandenwater from 17 yards out, and then Sturha was able to deny Onunga in the 15th minute. before Nashville finally were able to reward of their good start. As CJ Sapon, who else, scored from Nashville from Mukhtar to give Nashville a 1-0 lead. I mean, CJ Sapon is just red hot right now, and he just cannot stop scoring with the way that he's now scored 7 goals in the last 7 games for Nashville SC. Now, in the 24th minute, Nashville almost made it 2-0, and it looked like they scored 2 goals in a span of just 60 seconds because Orlando literally just gave the ball away straight from the kickoff, and Mukhtar was off to the races, but he dropped it straight to the keeper there. Before Leo had a chance to make it 2-0, but he hits the side netting, and Nashville was definitely pressing for a second goal. Godoy then tried a spectacular 35-yard shot that just goes wide before Vandewater just puts it wide from 14 yards out, and then right before the stroke of halftime, it looked like Orlando was going to get the equalizer late, but Willis absolutely robbed Tesha Akindele. I mean, this one looked like it was going in, but Willis somehow, in some way, in full stretch, just able to tip this header away from Akindele and preserve Nashville lead heading into the second half. Now, in the second half, again, they tried to make it 2-0 Nashville as Mukhtar tried to curl one in from the free kick, but it struck the post. Urso then drive one that goes high in the 51st minute before Vandewater drives one from 24 yards out that goes wide, and chances were started coming in for both ends, and this is also when I talk about how both teams were really going for that next goal, and eventually Orlando City would get that next goal as Antonio Carlos would score from Pereira as they scored this one. I believe it was from the corner, and that is the case. I think that's the 4th time that Orlando City was able to score from a corner in their last 80-plus game. And, for corner set piece goals that Orlando has been scored has been as rare as it gets. But this season, it seems like that's been kind of almost a common thing because I think in a short amount of time, they have already scored two goals from the corner, whereas before they had never scored a corner goal, or at least very rarely so they were able to score from the corner. Now, in the 66th minute, Pereira did drive one that goes wide as he was looking to give Orlando City the lead in this game before Benji Michel puts it wide from close range, and all of a sudden, Orlando was the one to press for the go-ahead goal. Akindele then struck the post on a free header in the 75th minute before there was a shout for a penalty for Nashville after Johnson went down in the box, but nothing was given at that. The post then denied Romney on the header in the 80th minute, and as we go into the last 10 minutes of the game, both teams, as I said, was going for that winning goal, but ultimately it ended in a 1-1 draw between both of these teams as the shots in this one dead even at 14 shots apiece. 4 shots on goal for the 3 that Orlando City has, dead even at 7 shots off target. 3 shots that was blocked for the 4 that Orlando City has, and possession-wise, 45% possession compared to 55% possession that Orlando City has in this game. And I think in the end, a draw is definitely a fair resort considering the fact that it just feel like both teams were going for the winner, but unfortunately they weren't able to do so. And anytime that, of course, has happened, I think it's the best for both teams to able to get a point because at least they did not concede a late goal and ultimately losing the game. But come playoff time, I feel like both of these teams would be frustrated the fact that it would end in a 1-1 draw because then they have to go to extra time and kind of battle it out. But in many ways, if that's the case, I would definitely watch that because, like I said, this is a game that really felt like it was a playoff type of game, and that I can't wait to see if there's a chance that both of these teams could meet against each other. This would definitely be a game that I would tune in. But now moving on, in terms of the next match, is Vancouver. So I am wearing the Whitecaps jersey from last season. I don't know if they're actually still wearing this from this season because I think they decided to go with the Village kit that they had a couple of years ago. Well, it's not really the Village kit, but it's kind of similar to that with kind of like the blue stripes right into the middle. But, I'm wearing this because the Whitecaps got a win. So after 5 straight draws that they suffered, it looked like they were going to be suffering a record time 6 straight draw in this one against Austin FC. They were able to get that crucial second goal to get all 3 points. And in some way I think Vancouver, knowing the fact that this is the last game before they finally get their homecoming and play at BC Place heading into next week for the first time in 2 years, they were definitely extra motivated to get all 3 points so that they can carry that momentum heading into their home opener at BC Place. And in the end, that is exactly what they did, as they were able to come from behind to win 2-1 against Austin FC. Now, early on, Fagundes did hit the side netting in the back post before Dahomey hits it wide into the side netting, and then Dominguez in the 11 minutes put a one hopper that goes straight to Crépeau. And there was going to have chances for both teams to score early in this game. That would continue on into the 23rd minute as Caicedo puts it high after the really I thought Austin got away with a big mistake by not Caicedo, but actually from Dominguez, as he kind of put a WTF turnover there, just gave the ball away in probably one of the worst positions, and Caicedo almost capitalized and almost punished Austin because of that. I thought there was a lot of possession for Austin early in this game, but no real final product, which shouldn't be a surprise for Austin because that's been the story this season. But ultimately, they would get the opening goal of this game as Alex Rain would score his first goal for Austin FC from Jerussi to make it 1-0 in favor of Austin. And this is also the first time that Austin FC was able to score from a corner. It was a lovely delivery there from their new designated player, Jerussi. And although I think that when they bought him, they weren't expecting he was going to be the assist maker, he definitely put in a great ball into the box, and Ring was the first one to head that one away to give Austin a 1-0 lead. Before 2 minutes later, Fagundes drives it wide, almost give Austin a 2-0 lead, and Austin was definitely hungry for a second goal. And I thought when Austin did get this opening goal, I thought this could be a long night for Vancouver, because knowing this Austin team, if they can get that first goal, they're going to score a ton of goals to follow. And this is also why I said in the preview, it's almost like a feast or famine kind of way that Austin has been at home, where if they can get that first goal, they're going to be feasting on to try to get a second and even a third goal. But if they can't get that first goal, it's kind of like a famine where they just cannot able to score a goal and ends up probably getting shut out or losing the game. But in the 45th minute, Stuver did had to deny Brian White, as Vancouver was looking to try to do something that no team has been able to do at home this season up to that point, which is able to find or able to get an equalizer and not let Austin kind of run wild in terms of scoring that second or third goal. But in the second half, as we head to halftime 1-0 in favor of Austin, it was actually Vancouver the one that started the better side. Stuvert had to deny Dahomey in the 51st minute before they finally capitalized on after getting off to a good start. And it's Jake Nowinski scoring a rare goal for him in the 53rd minute. And this was also coming from a corner. And yeah, this was not good defending from Austin FC from the corner. Not able to clear their lines, letting that ball dangling in the box. And when you decide to do that, you're basically asking for the opposition to eventually slots it home, which Nowinski was the one to do so to tie the game up at 1 apiece. But then 4 minutes later, Pochettino did fire it wide from long range before Gallagher did hit it wide. And Austin, again, looking to try to get themselves back into it, looking to try to get that second goal to retake the lead after they were kind of under siege for the first 10 minutes by Vancouver. But at the same time, I also thought Austin was looking very sloppy in terms of not only set-piece defending, but also on the transitional play. And that's bad news if you're Austin FC, because this Whitecaps team, what's the two things that they always do in order to score goals for the Whitecaps this season? 1, the set piece, and 2, on the transition. Because in the 74th minute, that is exactly what happened in the transition, where Austin FC kind of maybe committed too many men forward. Vancouver immediately go the other way to hit the transition, and they were able to score as Brian White would score, and I believe this is his first goal for the Vancouver Whitecaps, as he scored from Ryan Gaul and Caicedo to give Vancouver a 2-1 lead. And it was almost 3-1 when Stuber absolutely robbed Gaul to keep Austin in this game. Ryan Gaul had another great game, and you can start to see why Vancouver paid the big money to, of course, get him. And if he can continue the form that he is in, Vancouver might have just found their future number 10. But in the 83rd minute, Gallagher did miss Hyde on the header from 5 yards out as Austin late in this game was trying to push for the equalizer. But ultimately, Vancouver, with a huge 3 points, able to win 2-1 against Austin on the road. And the shots in this game, 10 shots compared to 18 that Vancouver has, 8 shots on goal compared to 2 that Austin has, 8 shots off target compared to 4 that Vancouver has, no shots that was blocked compared to 6 that Vancouver has, and possession-wise, 63% possession compared to 37% possession that the Whitecaps has in this game. And, for Austin FC, not only the fact that this is really the first time at home where they were leading a game and they kind of let that lead slip away and drop all 3 points, but that's also the same with their season where, I really think that they are maybe that first team that is kind of like in see you next season mode, and I just don't see how this team, unless it's something dramatically changed and somehow how they finally find a goal scored, which again they hope that Jersey is that answer. I just think that they're probably not going to make the playoffs, and they're pretty much done this season because they're just so far out of the playoffs with about 11 games left this season. But for the Whitecaps, it's completely different. They're trying to also get themselves into the conversation of what it seems like it's a little bit of a logjam between the bubble around the area of teams that is currently just above the red line and teams that is just below the red line in the West. But now moving on into the next match. So another team that maybe are also kind of in that see you next season mode is the Houston Dynamo, and unfortunately for the Dynamo, they have now reached a stretch where they're now tied with the San Jose Earthquakes for the longest winless run this season at 13 games. But for RSL, what a huge victory this was, and this was something that we did not see earlier this season, where in a game where it was 1-1 late at home, it looked like RSL just weren't able to get that crucial winner, but they did in this one. Now, early on, they actually got off to a good start and thought that they got a quick 1-0 lead when Krylak was able to put the ball into the back of the net, but unfortunately the goal was disallowed for offside, and rightfully so, because Krylak was about a yard or two offside. But nevertheless, they were able to get the opening goal early in this game, as 3 minutes after they were disallowed of what looked like the opening goal of the game. They would score the opener as Justin Miram would score from Bobby Wood to give RSL a 1-0 lead. But then just 5 minutes later, Houston almost equalized as Dorsey just puts it wide as he went through on goal. And Houston, this is also the second week in a row where they gave up an early goal, but they kind of woke up a little bit and started to try to get the equalizer. But fast forward into the 39th minute, they almost did so as Lassiter header just goes wide from 7 yards out. But unlike last week where they did get the equalizer right on the stroke of halftime, they weren't able to do so as RSL was able to lead 1-0 heading into the second half. Now in the second half, Rusnak did try to curl one in, but unfortunately that missed wide. Before in the 51st minute, Houston did get the equalizer, and it's Fafa Pico that was able to score from Darwin Sarin to tie the game up at 1 apiece. Not great set-piece defending whatsoever from RSL. Like, they literally let Pico all alone in the box. And when you decide to let someone all alone in the box and had a free header, you're basically asking to be scored on, and that exactly is the case. And then 2 minutes later, Lassiter trying to give Houston the lead, but he puts it high before Mendes puts it high from close range in the 57th minute after he went through on goal. And then Mateus Vera pulls it wide from close range in the 62nd minute, and you just kind of had a feeling that this game was started looking like it's up for grabs with the way that the chances was coming in for both. And Vera then fired one high from 14 yards down the 75th minute before Maric absolutely robbed Damir Krylak from point-blank range in the 80th minute. But then in the 87th minute, he wasn't able to do anything with this opportunity that Julio has, as Julio was able to show his clinical finishing from Rubin and Toya to give RSL a 2-1 lead, and that would be the winning goal in this game, as RSL was able to win 2-1 against the Houston Dynamo. Shots in this one, 14 shots compared to 10 that RSL had, 4 shots on goal compared to 1 that the Dynamo has, 3 shots off target compared to 10 that the Dynamo has. There's no way that they got 16 shots off target because they only had 14 shots in this game. But in terms of the block shots, both teams had 3 shots that was blocked, and possession-wise, 53% possession compared to 47% possession that the Houston Dynamo has in this game. And like I said, this has to be great news for our RSL, knowing that they finally did something that they did not do in the beginning of the season, which was able to get crucial 3 points despite the fact that they were on verge of another disappointing draw at home. But for the Houston Dynamo, you know, as I said, you know, it's gonna happen eventually. And I know I also said that it's kind of like see you next season mode, but I also feel like we're probably not going to have this entire season without the Dynamo not winning one more game. Like, surely they're eventually going to end this winless run, and we'll see whether or not if the next game is the one that they're going to end their winless run. But there you have it. That is pretty much it in terms of the 11 game that I've talked about from yesterday's MLS action. And like I said, I kind of rushed it a little bit in terms of talking about these 11 games because I have to go to work with it not long after when I finish this video. But if you do enjoy this video, make sure you guys leave a like, smash that subscribe button. Let me know in the comments below, what do you think of all of these 11 games. Later tonight, after I finish my evening shift, I will do a news of the week video. For tomorrow, I will do the preview in terms of the beginning of Heineken Rivalry Week, as these next 2 weeks and these next 2 match week is going to be Heineken Rivalry Week in MLS, which means the biggest rivalry in MLS is going to be happening in this 2-week span. And this is usually my favorite time of the year. And not only the fact that we also get Heineken Rivalry Week, but we also got the All-Star game that is going to be happening in next midweek down in LA between the MLS All-Star versus Liga MX All-Star. And I'm also just praying that they do not schedule me during the time when the All-Star game is going to happen. In fact, if they do schedule me during that time, I'll probably just come up with an excuse by not working there, because I know the All-Star game before, it's kind of been an afterthought, as I said before. But this year, I feel like it means a little bit more, knowing the fact that this year is kind of like an MLS All-Star versus Liga MX All-Star, and you know that if MLS is able to win this All-Star game, they would definitely have the bragging rights, and maybe once again one up in terms of this endless discussion of whether or not if MLS or Liga MX of who exactly is the best league in North America. But either way, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Like I said, if you do, make sure you guys like, smash the subscribe button, and yeah, I of course will see you guys next time.